Hi friends, today is Tuesday, September 6, 2022, and today we are back again, and I think the question we are supposed to ask today is an amalgam of a series of similar questions that we've received from clients over the years that essentially boils down to how can we tell who we are supposed to help? It's pretty clear that anyone who was born in this particular era with any resources whatsoever, and I think if you have access to the kind of screen where you would be able to see this video, we're going to go under the assumption that all of us have the kind of resources that would put us in that category. Anyone who has any kinds of resources, our job is to be having a positive impact on the world around us. We're supposed to be helping something. We're supposed to be helping somebody by some definition of what somebody means. And then once we really start to grapple with that concept of, all right, well, I'm here to make a positive difference in the world, once we start to get through that step, then it can become almost overwhelming when we start to ask, well then, who or what am I supposed to help? What am I supposed to put my resources of time, of energy, of focus, of finances for some people, of effort for most of us? What am I supposed to put that towards? And how can I tell if I'm helping the wrong thing? How can I tell if what I've been putting my effort into isn't what it's supposed to be and I need to adjust course? These are great questions. And for example, there's a great client of the healing practice who owns a house. And over the years of owning this house, there have been a number of people who have come to her and asked if they can stay in her house because of challenging situations they're having in her life, in their lives. And it's been a process of starting to discern who we're supposed to accept into the home, who is supposed to find somewhere else to live, where the line is between, yes, absolutely, this feels like a soul contract move, you need to take this person in, and this is not what's supposed to happen, this person isn't supposed to be living here, and how to explain that in a way that people don't think you're insane, but also to not waste an opportunity to do the good thing that you're supposed to do in this life, which is really tricky. And part of the reason why I think this is on our table to work through today is that I do not really know the answer. This is something I grapple with on a day-to-day basis, and so I'm personally invested in trying to get some answers that are helpful for us as a community and for each of us personally in our own lives. Beautiful. So now what we're going to start to do, and we may cut bits of it out, is we're going to start to do a very brief opening process to start to create a little more space for this healing session. Really starting by softening my own energy body and starting to merge in more with the collective body of the group. Now, there are different ways that people are able to engage with these videos, but for the people who come into working with these videos with a lot of focus, with a lot of intention, they can start to feel energetic shifts. If you're energy sensitive, you should start to feel a little bit of an opening. There we go. And we're going to start to open up the collective heart chakra. Beautiful. We're going to start to reach up to that really good group of guardian angels and to their supervisors who seem to be responsible for this particular videoed series and the community of this particular videoed series. We're going to try to reach up, if possible, to a third layer of guardian angels. There we go. Just a reminder that as the energy starts to move, it's common for me to yawn, it's common for my eyes to move around in my head, for my nose to run. All of these are good signals that the energy is moving. We're going to ask those much, much higher powers if they're willing to send a river of higher vibration, healing energy in through the front of that heart chakra for the collective of the group, and you can join in as much as you feel comfortable and allow those heart chakras to really flush out, opening those doors at the back of the heart chakra, now exhaling out the back. Beautiful. And we're not going to do a full opening process. We're just going to do a little bit of it. Let's open up the doors at the back of that heart chakra now, asking those guardian angels if they're willing to send a river of higher vibration healing energy in through those doors at the back, expanding those heart chakras, that one unified merged heart chakra as much as possible. And now let's exhale out the front. Drawing the focus to the intersection where the heart chakra meets that vertical pillar of the energy body. We're going to start to find that exact intersection point, and we're going to ask that group of guardian angels who is responsible for this project if they're willing to help us find that exact intersection point and start to build a critical mass of higher vibration healing energy there until it pops. There we go. Nice. Creating that bubble all the way around all of us. There we go. And if you don't want to be inside the bubble, you don't have to be inside the bubble. There we go. And now claiming the interior of this bubble as sacred, safe, private, healing, learning, growing space. Its clear only presences we invite in are welcome to join us, and all others either move around the outside of the bubble, or if they break in, they're breaking divine law. Much, much bigger eyes than ours are watching them. Much, much bigger hands will be able to reach in and pull them out if they choose to. Beautiful. And having the intention that every time this recording plays, every time this video plays, that sacred space be created and then strengthened around all of us, so that more and more everyone inside of this community, this little community, can be surrounded by sacred space. Now let's start to reach up again to those guardian angels and ask what I believe is the assigned question for today, which is, how can each of us know who we are supposed to be helping and who is maybe not our responsibility? Because we aren't all responsible for everything. We're responsible for a lot more than we think we are, each of us as individuals. There we go. And I remember there was this great lesson that my teacher presented many, many times, but I still really struggle with, where you would need to discern if something was not actually your task to do, either because it was clearly for somebody else to do, or even if you couldn't figure out who else was supposed to do it, it conflicted with what you were supposed to be doing. So that's the first thing the guardian angels are saying. The guardian angels are saying that, as with every single question of what we're supposed to do, it first comes down to the soul plan, to the destiny for each individual person. Everyone does have differences. Everyone has variations in the soul plan. And that's the first most important thing of, if doing an action would directly interfere with your soul plan, it's not something to do. How can we tell if something interferes with our soul plan is a much trickier question. Let's ask, how can we tell if something interferes with our soul plan? How can we tell? And really, let's ask up so that we're not just thinking into our noggins. How can we tell if something directly interferes with what we're supposed to do? That's a hard one, because all of the clues about feelings are likely to be wrong, because we tend to feel like we want to do just something that we want to do. It's very hard for us to gauge from our feelings what is a soul plan task and what isn't. We're not very reliable. Especially not for ourselves. We can be more reliable for other people. How can we tell if something is directly against what we are supposed to do. And what they're starting to talk about is a lesson that I remember from my teacher's healing practice, where there was a client who had traveled to India just as a tourist, just on a sightseeing vacation, had traveled to India and had been staying at a 5-star hotel, a very nice hotel. And this woman would step out of her very nice hotel and she would see people living in extreme poverty. She would see people living on the streets with very little food, very little hygiene, very little resources. And she came home and had a healing session with my teacher and said, I saw these people and they were living like that, and what calmed me down, what helped me to feel safe, what helped me to feel not sad about it, was remembering that in their own pre-birth planning, in their own soul plan, they had chosen that life. They had chosen to live in abject poverty. And the answer from the angels that was channeled through my teacher was, well, yes, that's true, but also you chose to be there to see it. You chose to witness what was happening, recognize what was happening, and then make actions based on that. And why that's such a wonderful answer is that in that moment we remember, first of all, that we are complicit in everything that we witness. We are complicit in everything that we experience. And that can be an overwhelming thought, but the angels also want it to be an empowering thought. Because how helpless would it feel to stand on a sidewalk outside of the 5-star hotel, see people in abject poverty, and your only shred of comfort is, well, they must have chosen that for themselves. You push that away in saying that is their responsibility and not mine. How much more empowering is it to have the inquiry of, and now that I've seen this, what is for me to do? Oh, interesting. So I think what the angels are trying to make the point of is that we all assume things are not our responsibility. And so our first assumption in any situation really should be to assume that it is for us to do. Assume that if we noticed it, if we witnessed it, it is for us to handle. It is for us to take care of. Another point that the guardian angels are making that I think they've made before is that it is very common for those of us who feel larger responsibility for the world to want to make it about places very far away. I sign a lot of petitions for a lot of action organizations that have to do with global conflict, that have to do with international issues. And it's good to know about international issues. It's good to get engaged in them. It's good to get involved in them. But people tend to slip into this pattern, again, of pushing away the issue, of thinking this is a problem that's happening way over there, and so I can sign a petition, I can donate a little money, and that's really the limitation of what I'm able to do to help that situation improve. And to a certain extent, that might be true. But often by doing that, we can distract ourselves from the issues in our own community, in our own neighborhood, in our own very small area. And so that's one of the tools the guardian angels are really wanting us to start to grapple with, is to assume that the presences you are supposed to help in this life are closer than you think. Our lives don't happen by accident. This is not a collection of random happenstance. Almost always we are supposed to cross the paths with the things that we are supposed to make a big difference in. Like that client who found herself in India and saw the terrible things happening. Almost always we are put directly in situations that are connected to the kinds of situations we're supposed to be either supporting or stopping from happening. They're not mistakes. The scary things that have happened to you in your life, they weren't by accident. They might have been terrible, And I don't think it's fair ever to look at someone and say, you don't have a right to feel like that painful or scary thing was bad, because you absolutely have a right, because there was pain and there was fear and that was real. But does it not feel more empowering to then start to look for how could I make it so this doesn't happen for other people? And the fun game is, how can I see how that experience is similar to experiences that are happening for non-humans, that are happening at a community level, to start to translate the feelings that you experienced in your own scary experiences of your life and distill them into larger themes that you would like to work to stop. For example, people who have had really scary personal experiences in their own lives often go into helping animals. They work with animal rescue. But it feels like the guardian angels are wanting to make the point of, when we start from the place of our own trauma, it's very easy to really keep our focus narrowed to other humans, which makes sense, right? It's like, I'm a human, this scary thing happened to me, I will find other humans who have had similar scary things and I will do things to help, which is fine and reasonable. But other humans are getting a lot more support than non-humans. Other humans are getting a lot more support than the planet itself, which sounds bananas, but is actually really true just in terms of the flow of resources. And so the guardian angels are talking about how important it is to challenge ourselves to recognize the universality of the challenges we have been through, and to translate that outside of the easy translation of someone who looks very much like us or had an experience very much like ours.